So today is going to be a different type of Wednesday walk. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, so everyone in town is pretty much asleep or at home. This is the first time I've been out this early or late, depending on how you look at it. High school students in Korea have returned to school today, and next week my school will welcome back our first and second grade students. So just what can you expect if you're able to visit Korea today? Let's talk about it while we walk around the town. So who's exactly coming to Korea? Tourism from other countries is essentially non-existent. Anyone coming into Korea is required to quarantine for 2 weeks. Unless you live nearby, this means paying to stay at a government isolation facility. So if you're just coming to Korea for vacation, more than likely you're spending the whole time in quarantine, plus an additional 2 weeks when you get back to your home country. And that's if you can get an easy flight to and from Korea. Outside of Koreans returning from abroad, arrivals have typically been students and workers. If you decide to break the quarantine, as a foreigner this means immediate deportation, and it has already happened to a handful of students. Overall, the number of cases have been going down, but recent headlines have focused on new cases in an area of Seoul called Itaewon. Traditionally, Itaewon has been known as a foreigners area, but in recent years you'll typically find an equal mix of Koreans and foreigners in the area. Prior to May 6th, Korea was under more stricter social distancing plan where everyone asked to limit travel to mostly the essentials. Many indoor places were closed or had limitations to help lessen the chance of COVID-19 spreading. And for the most part, this has worked, but just before the switch over to the everyday life quarantine where restrictions were eased, a large number of people ended up visiting Itaewon. Over 5,500 people were registered to have visited a number of clubs in the area, and this ended up leading to a new outbreak of cases. Most of these new cases, a total of over 150, were linked to a single individual and actually ended up delaying school by another week. These students typically start school in March, so we're almost 3 months behind, and I haven't seen many of my students since the end of December. And as we move away from online learning, the way we teach and interact with students will change. Stricter social distancing since coming back to Korea has also meant that I haven't seen many of my friends and family for several months. And I've limited my own traveling to mostly the local area. Train and bus stations have temperature sensors set up, and I really don't see them disappearing in the near future. First and foremost, I am a teacher here in Korea, so I do have to be cautious of where I go. As a teacher, you do become a part of the community you teach in, and I would hate to be the one that brings COVID-19 back to my city. That doesn't mean an end to the traveling. At the beginning of the year, one of my goals was to explore more of the places in my province, so make sure that you're subscribed to catch these videos as well. For those that have had their travel plans to Korea cancelled or delayed, Korea will still be here when the world is in a better shape. Now is a really good time to learn Korean or brush up on your skills, so I've linked an article below with some resources to help you get started. You can also see what other videos we have so that you can explore Korea from home. And if there's a particular place that you would like to see, let me know in the comments below and you may see that in a future video. So the area that we're in is the old downtown area of Boryeong. Typically I'll walk by here on my way to school, and there's several different markets in the area where you can find different kinds of food and some clothing items. But as you can see right now, a lot of these places are closed. It's 4 a.m. of course. There's one of the open markets there. It's still lit up right now, but all the shops are closed. And usually along here you can find different cafes. There's plenty of cell phone shops. If I remember correctly, there's different Korean beauty product places down here, and you can see some different name brand stores as well. On the other side is one of our post offices here in town. I'm really surprised how quiet it is. The only vehicles that I've really seen out have been different taxi cabs taking people home from the different bars here in town. One of the cool things about Korea is that they have different driver services where you can call up these people and they'll drive a vehicle to where you are. One of the people will get into your car and drive it back to your place so that you don't have to leave it at a place if you've drank too much. And there's actually one of those right by my apartment. We're not too far from my school. In the city, there's about 5 elementary schools, and then there's a few different middle schools. And in Korea, after middle school, students can actually stop attending school. Especially in some of the cities, you'll see more specialized high schools that are geared towards science or other careers to kind of prepare students for university. In Korea, universities are really hard to get into, and basically their high school career, they're preparing for the national exam so that they can get placed high enough to get into the university of their choice. That's why some parents will choose to send their students abroad to go for university, because the restrictions are usually a lot easier. On the flip side, for foreigners wanting to attend university in Korea, there's usually easier options to get in. Aside from having to have some proficiency in Korean, you can actually qualify for quite a few different scholarships to make attending university in Korea pretty affordable. Another thing that you'll notice in especially these smaller towns is that there's a lot of smaller restaurants. One of the normal activities for different businesses and schools is called Hueshik. It's where you and your coworkers get together for dinner and drinks and kind of talk with each other. Depending on the school, some Hueshiks can involve more drinking or less drinking. It just depends on the teachers and kind of the group dynamics. On the company side, when there's Hueshiks, they can sometimes go for like second or third rounds where they'll go to either like a noraebang, which is like a karaoke place, and sing songs afterwards, or they'll go out to a bar for more drinking afterwards. And all this happens without them skipping work the next day. So if they had a little too much fun the next morning, they could all be suffering a little bit. And as I'm walking around, the weather has been getting steadily warmer, so I'm really looking forward to getting my bike out and being able to go around and travel more in my city. Last year when I was riding my bike to school, it actually made my commute only about 5 minutes from my home, whereas now when I'm going to school, it's usually about a 15-minute walk. So it's still not too bad, and I don't have to deal with traffic, because in Korea, having a car, it's pretty stressful. The roads are generally smaller in Korea, so having a smaller car is typically going to be better, but just seeing all the traffic and stuff kind of makes me afraid to drive here. Back in the US, of course, I drove quite a bit, but in Korea I've been able to use a combination of different public transportation, whether it be trains or buses, or my own 2 feet to kind of get around different places. And for the most part, it's pretty affordable. In the rural areas, you can typically get to even some of the smaller cities by bus, so you don't really need to have a car, but having a car does make getting to different places a lot quicker. Like when I went to Buyo the other week, It did take me about an hour to go there by bus, but if I would have taken a car, it would have only taken about half an hour, and then some of the more remote areas you can get to a lot easier. You really have to watch out for bus times in the smaller cities because they're not as frequent, but like if you're going to Seoul for the weekend, it's pretty easy to get on a bus or train to Seoul, and they're usually pretty regular. And as far as teaching goes, from my understanding, people are still getting contracts to teach in the fall. So if that's something you're interested, certainly check that out. At some of these crosswalks, you will find these umbrellas. They use them typically if it's like really hot out or if it's raining. It's been raining the past week or so here, so that's why they've been deployed. Usually over there by the bus terminal, there's quite a few taxi cabs that will be waiting for people to come by and go to where they need to get to. At least in my city, there's not too many buses that go out past about 9 or 10 o'clock, so things shut down pretty early here. Anyways, I'm gonna head out now and get some sleep. This has been another Wednesday walk. I'm Harold with Sapphire Kitsu Travels. Take care, everyone.